They are Russia's ultimate warriors. Cold-hearted, ruthless, and forged out of the most brutal training regime ever created.
They can take more punishment and more pain than you can possibly dish out.
When Mother Russia calls, this elite fighting force takes on any challenge and leaves a trail of death and destruction.
You develop a man into a weapon. Everything else is a tool.
Weaponology travels back into the wild heart of the men who, through blood, guts, and bullets, earned their nickname, Russia's Pit Bulls. They are Spetsnaz. It's time to go ballistic. Killing for the Kremlin is their deadly game. Spetsnaz is their name.
The Russian phrase is Войска специального назначения, which literally translates to special purpose forces.
They're part of the army, they're part of the security services, and they're part of the interior ministry as well. And they are used for a whole variety of different roles.
Spetsnaz's specialist strike squads took out the terrorists during the Beslan school siege, during the war in Afghanistan, and the bloody battles in Chechnya. This vast army of elite units paved the way into enemy territory.
The reputation of Spetsnaz is one of being very political, highly ruthless, able to dispatch the enemies of the Kremlin no matter where they are.
Сам спецназ высший уровень, он может работать практически везде, практически во всех отраслях, скажем так, войны. Вот это боец, который знает практически все.
Their ruthlessness, their willingness to die to accomplish a mission, this makes the Spetsnaz feared.
When the Soviet Union disintegrated in the early 90s, the new Russian Federation became a target for terrorists. Spetsnaz stepped up to the mark, tackling this deadly new enemy head-on.
Since the end of the Cold War, the Russian Federation started recognizing the need for special operations counter-terror units. They do get called frequently into terrorist and certainly mass hostage sieges that Russia has been experiencing in recent years.
In these high-risk, high-pressure situations, Russia's premier strike force is armed with hardware that is rugged, reliable, and undeniably a product of its Soviet heyday. The Spetsnaz soldier is a die-hard fighting machine. For taking the men out at a distance, he's armed with the silent but deadly Vintorez sniper rifle. And if the enemy ever closes in, they can get down and dirty with the most famous gun in history, the AK-47. But when push comes to shovel, the Spetsnaz use their standard-issue Sapirka to drop the bad guy. This fine tradition of deadly close-quarters combat and lethal handheld weaponry ramp up the fear factor of the Spetsnaz. Now, weaponology will go back through generations of technology to unlock their family tree. The men, the machines, the moments that shape the history of this elite fighting unit. Rewind to the 1980s. If the Cold War ever went hot, 30,000 elite troops, organized into Spetsnaz sabotage squads, would add fuel to the flames.
They would be the people who would go deep, who would try to take out headquarters, who would try to paralyze airfields and communication nodes, and that sort of thing.
The Spetsnaz were trained to bring NATO to its knees.
I think that during the Cold War, the fact that not that much was known about the Spetsnaz did kind of make them more boogeymen in the eyes of Western military and intelligence services.
In 1936, the forerunners of Spetsnaz began the modern tradition of Soviet special forces during the Spanish Civil War. Spetsnaz brigades trained the soldiers of the new Spanish Republic to fight against General Franco's fascist armies.
They conducted a lot of long-range recon intelligence. Ambushes and that type of thing were very, very common, and they definitely proved their mettle.
When World War II began, small groups of elite Russian troops would infiltrate German lines on the Eastern Front and create havoc.
They were the predecessors to the Spetsnaz. They played very important parts in information gathering behind enemy lines. They were a quite effective tool in World War II.
Those people certainly fought in the most horrible conditions imaginable and still managed to survive, still managed to prevail, still managed to ensure victory.
In the bloody battlefields of the Eastern Front, rugged and reliable weaponry was needed. Soviet weaponologists delivered.
A lot of Russian weapon design reflected the fact that the Russian army was a big army, taking into its ranks soldiers who, by and large, were not terribly well-educated and would be quite hard to train on sophisticated weapons. And it did a very good line on robust and soldier-proof weapons.
Step forward the potent PPSH, or Papasha.
This is the Soviet PPSH, and as submachine guns go, this is a very good submachine gun. It's very crude. It's stamped. There's nothing exotic about this at all. And because it's stamped out, the tolerances in this machine gun are very loose. So you can abuse this, and Russian troops did.
Weighing in at less than 9 pounds and firing over a staggering 900 rounds per minute, the Papasha was a short-range shoot-'em-down.
This is going to work when it is 60 below zero, and it's going to work after being in mud and dirt and filth and not being taken care of. It's just going to work.
As World War II neared its end, the Soviets recognized the need for a more accurate, rapid-firing Reaper to replace the Papasha. This daddy of battlefield reliability became the hub of the Spetsnaz family tree and forms the blueprint for most of Russia's deadly arsenal over the next 60 years. It would become the most famous gun in history, the Kalashnikov AK-47.
The AK-47 is one of the biggest success stories in the whole of weapons technology. And it's good because it's soldier-proof. It doesn't let you down. It does what it does in a robust and simple way. I can't think of a rifle which has had a greater impact on world history than the AK-47.
The AK series of assault rifles and Spetsnaz. A deadly partnership forged from absolute reliance on each other in the cauldron of combat.
Your AK is your mother, your wife, your lover, and your child. You were taught to live with it. You slept with it, you ate with it, and when I say to live with it, it's 24/7.
Snag the arm, take it out here.
Sonny Puzikas should know better than most. He served as a Spetsnaz operative for over 3 years. Even during his brutal training program, he learned to depend upon his AK for support.
Basically, when we did our exercises, everything was based around the weapon. So you put the weapon on its magazine and you do your push-ups on the weapon. All your weight, all your body weight is resting on nothing more than the magazine lock. Okay? And you're just doing push-ups on that weapon. Most other designs would not be able to survive this.
Every part of Kalashnikov's assault rifles were utilized by Spetsnaz, even the weapon's sling.
At that point, you would use the sling to gain control over his head, and you can use that person as a cover when you're engaging your targets.
In the hands of Spetsnaz, the AK-47 will become a rapid-fire Reaper. It was a marriage made in hell, till death do us part.
A lot of people died with this weapon in their hands before they dropped it and tried to run away, transitioning to other weapon. This was something that will save you, and a lot of times it did.
The AK boasts a simple design that ensures that every time the trigger is pulled, it's followed by a bang.
It has a lot of gas pressure to cycle the action, so